there, my name is Shar from Shar Sews, and today we're going to be sewing the Gilbert top from Helen's closet. The Gilbert top is a button-up shirt with a camp-style collar and a very relaxed fit. This pattern is perfect for an adventurous beginner looking to try some new techniques. Most notably, we finished the yoke and collar using the Burrito Method, and it's also perfect for intermediate sewists who are just looking for a fun make. View A is a shorter cropped version with a tie front and short sleeves, and View B is a little bit longer, perfect for tucking into pants, and can have long bell sleeves as well. So we're going to be going through View B, but the steps to follow for View A are very similar. I've also done a version here in View A in a lightweight yellow linen, perfect for summer. I've hacked it to be sleeveless, and you can kind of see we've got the tie front and it's a little bit more cropped. So really, this pattern is very versatile. It can be used as more of a professional button-up shirt, which is what we're going to go through today, or it could be styled as a very casual summer top like what I've got here. If you're going through and trying to make a Gilbert top for yourself and found this video helpful, I would love it if you could leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and let me know what you think. All right, without further ado, let's get sewing our Gilbert top. Cut 2 front pieces mirrored. Cut 1 back piece on the fold. Cut 2 back yoke pieces. Cut 2 front facings and 2 interfacings. 2 collar pieces with 1 interfacing. And 2 sleeves. Before we get started, we need to stay stitch around the curved edges of the front and yoke pieces. This helps prevent stretching and warping of the fabric while sewing and is a very important step. You can use a regular stitch length and there's no need to backstitch. Step 1. Darts. Transfer your dart markings directly onto your front pattern pieces. With right sides together, fold along the marked lines. We're going to pin the dart in place and then sew from the dart opening all the way to the dart point. When you reach the dart point, it's important not to backstitch and instead leave long thread tails at the end. Tie the loose threads into a secure knot and press the dart towards the bottom. Your dart should look like this once you're finished. Step 2. The back. I generally mark my pattern pieces with a piece of tape to differentiate between the right and the wrong side of the garment. Take one of your back yoke pieces with the right side facing up and place the back piece on top. The other back yoke piece goes right side down. What we end up with is the back piece sandwiched between the yokes. The right side of the yokes are facing the back piece. Sew this together at 5/8. We're going to grade the seam allowances to reduce bulk. Once you're done, you want to be able to see 3 distinct layers of fabric. It doesn't have to be perfect, something like this is fine. Press the yokes towards the top. Step 3. The shoulders. Lay out your back piece with the right side facing up. Take your front pieces with the right sides facing down and match them at the shoulders to the yoke. Sew the shoulders together using a 5/8 seam allowance. Make sure the other yoke piece is out of the way while we're sewing. We're only sewing 2 pieces of fabric together, 1 yoke piece and the back. Trim the seam allowance. Press the seam to the back, and this is what your garment should look like at this stage now. Step 4. Front facings. Take your front facings and press the curved edges of the facings to the wrong side at 1/4 inch. Isolate the yoke facing that has not yet been sewn at the shoulders. With right sides together, pin the yoke and the front facing at the inner shoulder seam. Sew the seam at 5/8 of an inch. Once again, grade the seams to reduce bulk. The last step for our shoulder seams is to press the seam allowance towards the back yoke along the stitch line. Step 5, the collar. Pin your collar pieces together with right sides together, and we're going to be stitching along the 3 straight edges. Leave your needle in the down position as you pivot to have sharp corners. Once again, we're going to grade our seam allowances to reduce bulk. Trim the corners, and then you can turn the collar right side out. After you've given it a good press, we're going to top stitch around the entire collar 1/4 of an inch. Pin the collar to the neckline, matching notches and the shoulder seams. We're placing the non-interfaced side of the collar to the right side of the shirt. This is what your collar should look like once everything is pinned in place. Baste the collar in place using a long stitch length. Make sure to take your time when doing this to ensure that the fabric does not bunch together. Step 6, the burrito method. The burrito method is a very neat way to finish the shoulders and the raw edges of the fabric. To start off, lay the garment out flat with the right sides facing up. Here I'm just showing that underneath the back piece we have the front facings and the yoke visible. Roll the back of the shirt towards the yoke. This is the start of our burrito. Before we move on to the next step, make sure your garment looks something like this. Orient the collar to be as straight as you can, and then flip the front facings over the roll to then align the neckline to the collar. Match your notches and your shoulder seams. Once you've finished pinning the neckline and shoulders, pin the front facings towards each front side. Sew everything together at 5/8 of an inch. I like to start at the bottom of one of the front facing pieces and work my way all the way around. Take your time when doing this part and make sure that none of the fabric is bunching underneath. It can be really easy to happen as we're sewing through a lot of layers. Grade the seam allowances to reduce bulk. And then for the neckline only, we're going to be clipping into the seam allowance to help when we turn it since it's on a curve. And this is where the burrito method magic comes into play. Pull out your garment from one side and unravel the burrito, and you can see your finished edges using this method. Make sure to give everything a good press before moving on to the next step. With wrong sides together, align the shoulders of the yoke and the shirt. Pin this in place and get ready to stitch in the ditch. Essentially, from the right side of the shirt, we're going to be stitching right in that seam line, and we're going to make sure that we're going to catch the yoke facing underneath. Alternatively, you can hand stitch this as well for more precision, but I find that if you go slowly enough on the machine, you should be fine. Step 7. Side seams. Pin your front and back pieces with right sides together and sew at 5/8 of an inch. I'm finishing my seams here with a serger. Step 8. Finishing the front facings. Align the front facing with the shirt front and edge stitch in place. If you have slippery fabric, you may want to pin your facings in place to ensure that it doesn't move. Step 9. Hem. Just using a simple method here whereby I'm folding up the hem by 1/4 inch, pressing it, and then folding it up by another 1/4 inch and pressing that again. Once everything is all pressed, we're going to edge stitch the hem in place. Step 10. Sleeves. We're going to pre-press our sleeves before getting started, and this will really make our lives easier at the end when we go to hem. We're going to prepare to have 2 lines of basting stitches go around the cap of our sleeve, so increase the stitch length on your machine and sew 2 rows of stitching. Leave long thread tails at the end and do not backstitch. Then with right sides together, sew the side seams of the sleeve. Finish the raw edges in your preferred method. I'm using a serger here to do that. Press your seam towards the back. Now those long thread tails on our sleeves are going to come in handy. Pull on them to gather the fabric and make your sleeve cap have a more rounded shape. This is going to help us ease our sleeve into the armhole. With right sides together, place the sleeve inside the armhole and then match the notches and seams together. Pin everything in place and then sew at 5/8 seam allowance. Make sure to take it slow to ensure no puckering at the shoulders. And once again, finish your raw edges. And now we can thank ourselves for pre-pressing our sleeves because it'll be easy to just refold them over and edge stitch the hem of our sleeve in place. Step 11. Buttons. This pattern comes with a guide as to where to place your buttons. However, I like to just try the garment on myself and then mark where I'd like the buttons to be. There's really no right or wrong answer, so here I've marked where I would like my buttons to be. Follow your machine's instructions on how to sew the buttonholes. Every machine is different. Finally, hand sew your buttons in place. And there you have it, we've made ourselves a Gilbert top. If you found this video helpful, I would really appreciate it if you left a comment to let me know what you think, and subscribe to the channel.